tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime. One word that has, for many, turned their American dream into a nightmare. In our audience are over 250 people sharing how they or someone they love is desperate for financial relief. Living in a car is hard.
But it can happen to anyone.
I don't believe that the majority of people are suffering just because of inflation.
If self-righteousness was expensive, you'd be broke.
He's emotional.
He's emotional because you have intentionally insulted everybody up here. Well, tonight we are talking about one word that a reported 85% of Americans view as the most critical issue in this year's presidential election. One word that has, for many, turned their American dream into a nightmare. I'm talking about inflation. And while some politicians and economists claim inflation is cooling and things are getting better, yeah, a lot of Americans say, come to my house and see how I'm living and tell me that. But what is most shocking is many who are feeling the financial albatross are well above the poverty line. In fact, the staggering 62% of those earning more than $100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. 62%. And more shocking than that are thousands of Americans who go to work every day but are homeless because they can't afford the rising cost of rent. Now, inflation has been used so much that it's like elevator music. We don't even hear it. We're really talking about affordability. Something needs to change, and it needs to change not next year. We don't want to hear about percentages. We want to hear about something that changes how much money you have to spend now. You want me to put this in perspective for you? Here in our audience are over 250 people, all holding signs sharing how they or someone they love is desperate for financial relief. I see childcare, rent, spending money, groceries, gas, no more savings, so many different things. My first guest, Jade, knows what it's like to work paycheck to paycheck. And when her landlord raised her rent, it priced her out of a place to live. She says the only way she could save money to get ahead was by moving into her car, becoming part of the working homeless. Take a look.
When the new landlord took over, that was almost $1,400 a person, when we've been used to paying $630. The only way I think I could ever provide for my future was to make this change, to live in my car.
My lease ends at the end of June, so I will be homeless full time.
The Honda Element that I live in now is 20 years old, and it has over 256,000 miles on it. I spend $20 a week on groceries, rice, beans, vegetables, eggs, oatmeal. That's pretty much what I eat. Showering's hard, especially if you are camping out in the woods. I absolutely think I'm risking my safety. The scariest encounter that I've had was when I was out camping. It was 3 a.m. and this guy just starts yelling right at my car.
Okay, so I'm being as real as I possibly can on here, because right now I'm having just like a mental breakdown.
The fact that inflation is growing rapidly, while people's wages are hardly growing. The American dream is for hardworking humans to be able to succeed, and hardworking people are not succeeding. Putting myself in this unsafe position right now will eventually be beneficial. My ultimate goal is to be able to get out of this financial spot.
Because I want a future for myself, I don't want to do this.
I didn't think I was gonna cry.
Well, Jay, you say there are days where you just get overwhelmed because living in a car is hard day after day after day.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Live in a car, try to survive and not feel like I'm a nuisance to anyone or anything.
How long have you been in your car now?
I started living in my car part-time from March until June. And then since July till now, I'm still in my car.
And what do you do for bathroom, shower? How does that work?
I use public bathrooms, gas stations, restaurants, all of that stuff. For gym, I can kind of kill 3 birds with 1 stone. I can use the bathroom, I can shower, and I can work out.
Where do you stay that you feel the most safe?
I camp. That's where I feel the most safe. I try to stay out of like city areas and more like campground areas. And then I just kind of use survival skills from camping just to go to the bathroom.
Okay. You don't like imposing on friends and family and that sort of thing?
No, everyone's going through this. I'm not the only person. So I feel like it's unfair for me to go to a family member's house or a friend's house who's also struggling. This is my journey, and I feel like I have to do it.
And you did have a place, and they jacked your rent. Take me through the moment that you crossed that threshold when you said, I just can't do that. I mean, what was the conversation you had with yourself?
How could I possibly manage to do that and pay $700 more when I'm already sinking so hard now? There was just no way. I didn't have another option.
How many times have you walked by, driven by, looked at, and seen homeless people and not seen homeless people? How do you feel being part of that population now?
I never thought that this would happen to me, but it can happen to anyone. You look at any human and it could happen to anyone at any point. I'm just here trying to survive. That's all I'm thinking about.
And how do you get out of this? How does this end?
The only way that it can end for my life right now is by me trying my hardest to do what I can, to either be able to feel like if I get a place to live, renting, that if I were to have another medical incident or my car were to break down, that I could afford that without sinking way back again.
And you got into financial trouble because of a medical emergency.
Yeah, a few.
And interestingly enough, people think young people get in trouble because they get a credit card and they go wild. The number one reason that people get into financial trouble is a medical crisis that they don't see coming. And now at this point, you probably feel like you can't afford to get a head cold. If you get a flat tire, you're going to run on 3 tires. I mean, it's like there's no room at all for anything.
Yeah, it all happened because medical things, car things, all of that stuff. And it was just overwashing me.
And how much do you work now?
Well, I work 40 hours. Now I just do a regular full-time job. For months, I worked 2 full-time jobs, working 80 hours a week just to try to make it work.
Yeah, but that's going to break down.
I broke down. I was mentally drained, physically drained. I couldn't even feel like I could give any effort to people that I work for.
All right, but we're going to keep this conversation going. We're going to add a young couple who say the rising cost of everything has made their over $100,000 income not enough for them to survive. We'll add them to this conversation after the break. You look forward to going to bed, but is that your escape?
I don't trust people's story. I think that it's a deeper thing that's going on there.
Can I,
Oh, please. I'll get in line. You go ahead.
that kind of hurts, that sentence that you said.
Well, I mean, I don't really care about your feelings. I don't.
The rise in inflation has caused our insurance to go up to the point where a home that we could have afforded 2 or 3, 4 years ago. It's no longer in our bracket.
It's, you know, your electricity, especially in the Texas heat. We're running the AC a lot. How do we cut back on that and not sweat to death?
Inflation has affected my life because I actually started dipping into my savings.
Groceries, man? Dang. Groceries are expensive. I used to only spend like $170 every like 2 to 3 weeks. Now I'm pushing 400.
Well, my next guests, Morgan and Justin, are like many hardworking Americans who say their paychecks are just simply not enough to keep up with the inflated cost of living. Now, this young couple says despite working multiple jobs and foregoing necessities like health insurance and dental visits, they're still barely making ends meet.
We make almost $100,000 a year together, and we don't have anything to show for it. I'm at a point now where I have no option but to think about money. It drives me crazy.
He had to take the 401k out, and we lived off of that.
In the dead of winter, I was having to take 20, 30 bucks at a time in diesel fuel to put it in the house just to keep the house warm. And even then, we wake up seeing our breath.
We struggle with expenses, including daycares. Groceries are outrageous. I go to the store and I get like 2 or 3 meals worth of food, and it's like $200 or $300. Medical bills I can't afford. I don't go to the dentist anymore. I don't go to the doctor. I can't pay the co-pays.
I can't even look after my own health because I can't afford to. We both definitely look forward to the end of the day because going to sleep, it's like the only time that you can escape it.
He wakes up miserable. I wake up miserable. It's just nightmare every single day.
Well, Morgan, Justin, thank you guys for being here. You've been very transparent with us in sharing. You are not extravagant people.
No.
How do you explain this to yourselves?
I can't even believe it. Inflation has gotten so bad that we're doing everything the same. And I feel like all of a sudden we can't afford life. And it's like, what has changed? I don't know. And we just don't know how it's going to get better.
Well, you have 3 jobs, and then you work a couple of side jobs.
Yep.
You work as well.
Yep.
And you have a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And you strip away what most people would call luxuries. I mean, eating out or going to do fun things. You're into survival mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What is your objective at this point?
It would be great just to have any kind of savings again, just to get to a point where if something were to happen, there's some type of safety net to fall back on. Because the fear of not having anything there and something happening is an everyday thought. Every second you're trying to find a way to make more money, spend more of your time towards a better job,
Right.
you know, more jobs,
And
any
also-
passive way of income.
She was saying getting sick is the worst. Like, you worry about getting sick. Any illness can just throw everything through a loop, you know?
It's not an option.
And then when you have a child, it's one extra person to worry about, you know?
Yeah. You look forward to going to bed because it's the only time you're not worrying about bills or how you're going to do it. Is that your escape?
It's the only time you could escape it for, you know, a couple of hours and you're thrown right back into it.
Yeah, it sounds so depressing, right? But when you fall asleep, it's like nothing matters anymore. You're in dreamland. You don't have to worry about your bills. You don't have to worry about what's going to come tomorrow. What if your car breaks down, or what if you don't have groceries?
Yeah. And you guys say you're about 300 grand in debt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you think, well, how'd that happen? It's not hard when you think, well, we've got a modest mortgage on a house, student loans, then you've got a vehicle. There's things that are not extravagant. That's not a lot of debt
Right.
for a family.
Right.
But how much harder is it than it was a year ago or 2 years ago?
Everything. Groceries, gas prices.
Yeah.
Everything is just crazy. And I feel like no matter how hard we work, we add extra jobs to it. You know, I try to clean people's houses on the side, anything I can do. And I just feel like it's getting harder and harder to just stay afloat.
Do you see this getting better?
No, I don't.
Do you guys see it getting better?
No, I mean, if anything, it's getting worse and worse.
Well, you know, I hear them talk about inflation, they say, well, it's down to like 1%, or it's this or that. And everybody goes, oh, yeah. Well, no, what happened was things cost this much.
Right.
Then inflation went up, so things cost this much. And they go, oh, well, now it's flattened out. Oh, isn't that great? No, it's not, because everything went from here to here.
Right.
It just stopped going up, but it's up here
Still
now.
high. And we're not getting paid more, right? They're not saying, hey, things are expensive. You know, we need to pay you more because of that. They're just like, sorry, we can't afford it either. So, you know, we just keep making the same money and paying for things that are more expensive.
And even that, like working 3 jobs, you can work as hard as you possibly can and exhaust every possible thing that you have in your body and still not make the inflation.
Yeah. If you think it's getting better, raise your hand. If you think, no, we're just in it deep, raise your hand. Okay. Morgan says the most difficult part of their financial struggle is being a parent and looking her little boy in the eyes and telling him, no, she can't afford the treat, she can't afford the toy. We'll talk about that after the break.
My son, he has a piggy bank. And he told me, next time we go to the store, can I bring my piggy bank so I can buy myself a snack? I hate that my son has to buy his own snack at the grocery store.
That shouldn't have to come out of a 5-year-old's mouth.
Morgan and Justin say the inflated cost of living has hit them hard as parents and left Morgan feeling, well, really feeling like a failure as a mother.
Yeah, every day I have to say, no, we can't, get that snack at the store. And, you go to get gas and your son wants a snack at the grocery store. And you're like, I only have $15 left of gas until we get home and Daddy can give me more gas money or whatever. It's just sad that I don't spend as much time with him. I feel like I'm spending every waking second working, and then I get 2 hours at the end of the day to watch a movie with him or read a book or give him a shower or a tub, and then it's bedtime. And I just feel like it's just getting worse, and I'm losing time with my child and my family. It's really hard, and I feel like he deserves more. And not being able to afford to go to that specialist or afford to go to play therapy or be able to do things that he really actually needs to function as a kid in school, it's hard. There's plenty of other mothers out there that are like, oh yeah, let's just go to therapy, not a big deal. It's just like, what did I do wrong, I got a degree, I got a job, I work full time, I have multiple jobs, and where's that money going, right? It's going to groceries, bills. I get paid on Friday, and by the time Friday ends, all my money's gone, and he's giving me gas money to get to work for next week. Like, it's really hard.
Does this affect your self-esteem?
Yeah, absolutely. As a parent, you want to be able to do the things that your kid wants to do for fun, because, that's what being a kid's about. And it's a constant effort, and
Nothing to show for it.
No, and to try to explain that to somebody who's 5 years old, he doesn't understand. I don't want to get to a point where he believes that I don't want to spend time with him, because that's, that couldn't be further from the truth. I work so hard for him, but it'll be a long time until he understands that.
Right.
What do you say to yourself as a father? Do you think you're failing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel like somehow you're failing?
Oh yeah, I would love to be able to be a mom and do all those things, but I'm failing in my life right now, and I don't know if there's much of a purpose other than to work now, and that's it.
Well, I don't like that internal dialogue at all. We're going to talk about that before we're done. This is an important conversation. We're going to add a man who says the small business his family built with their blood, sweat, and tears was crippled by inflation, forcing them to close their doors for good after investing pretty much everything they had. We'll add him to the conversation after the break.
Inflation has wiped out the life savings of our citizens and forced the middle class into a state of depression and despair. That's what it is. It's despair and depression. We cannot and will not let this continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again.
My next guest, Isaac, says when his family agreed to go into this business and open the doors to their small gelato shop, it fulfilled their American dream. But after nearly 7 years in business, the doors are now closed because Isaac says he just couldn't compete with the cost of inflation.
We started the work on the shop at the beginning of 2018. We put about $100,000 total into the shop. It was pretty much all of our savings in retirement. We shared some fantastic times in the shop, from building it to running it. I was known as the gelato guy.
Come on by and see us. I have a great case today. Chocolate, vanilla, cookie butter, strawberry gelato, peppermint, pumpkin pie, birthday cake. Those are some of the favorites.
When inflation hit, the cost of goods went up dramatically. When we had a major freezer failure, a compressor that might have cost $500 3 years ago now costs $1,500. To deal with some of our increasing costs, one of the things that we did have to do was raise some of the prices of our products. And it's always a tough thing to do, especially when you care about your customers. I had to reach out to my employees and tell them that I was going to be paying them late. Having to lay off employees was very difficult. We were open just a little over 6 years before we closed the door. We walked away with at least $15,000 of debt. It's hard not to feel like a failure. What I lost when I shut the shop is hard to say, other than I left a piece of me there.
Isaac, you say the most difficult thing, actually shame that you felt, was having to tell your employees that you couldn't pay them.
Yes, that's very true. And there is a lot of pride with being an employer. I was very proud of that. Despite what it was doing to my family and the income and the pride I felt personally, being able to help other people pay their bills was really, really a powerful experience for me. And the first time I had to go to my employees and say, listen, based on the last couple of weeks, I'm gonna have to pay you late. In my opinion, an employer has one main job, and that's to pay their employees for the time that they work, pay them a fair wage, pay them on time, and take good care of them. And when I realized that I wasn't gonna be able to do that, and I had to go to them with my tail between my legs, so to speak, that's not something any employer, I think, ever wants to do.
And you built this business yourself. And when I say built it yourself, I'm talking about you hammered the boards, you did the electrical, you did the plumbing, you put this together with your own hands.
I did.
And obviously this had a profound effect on you. It's hard to tell this to the family.
You know, it was such a family endeavor that we all knew it all the time.
Hard to swallow, though.
It was, and maybe it would have been easier if it was my burden to carry, but it wasn't. We all shared that burden.
Well, we're going to talk to an entrepreneur and real estate investor who says laziness and self-inflicted wounds cause people to go broke, not inflation. We'll add him to the conversation after the break.
Absolutely believe in the American dream because I'm living proof of it. But most people will not be successful because they either A, have self-inflicted wounds, or B, they're embracing cultural norms that's not ideal for their lifestyle. Most people do not take ownership and responsibility for their life, and ultimately they will forever be struggling to either stay in the middle class or get to the middle class, which is the ones that's gonna pay the majority of the taxes. The middle class is where dreams go to die. If you have a negative net worth and you make $100,000 a year, you're broke. I'm here to make you feel good. I'm here to give you the information that you need in order to be successful.
Well, that was Anton Daniels, an entrepreneur content creator and real estate investor who says he's not buying the excuse that inflation is to blame for everyone's financial hardship and misfortune. In fact, he says inflation has many benefits for someone like him. I think most people get into financial trouble with self-inflicted wounds.
Absolutely. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit, right? But I see so many people complaining and whining because it's easy to blame inflation for your problems. It's easy to just say, oh, woe is me. But the reality is that a whole bunch of decisions led up to that. For example, what about the fact that you picked a study that doesn't pay a lot of money, but at the same time, you were willing to take out those student loans and then you're looking for the federal government to forgive you? What about the fact that you feel like you deserve a car or a car note, but you didn't make the informed decision as far as how that was going to affect your budget? Somehow we think that we deserve for customers to come and patronize our business. That's not how things go. I don't believe and I don't buy that the majority of people are suffering just because of inflation. I believe that most of it is a self-inflicted wound. Well, inflation benefits me because when you decide that you want to overpurchase for a house that you couldn't afford in the first place, when you lose it, I'm gonna come and get it from you. And so I don't have any kind of sympathy for people in this country because there's people that come over here every single day and they make no excuses and they achieve the American dream. It's 1,700 new millionaires every single day. And so I don't trust people's story. I think that it's a deeper thing that's going on there.
Can I,
Oh, please.
Yes.
I'll get in line, you go ahead.
Well, it's your show.
It's yours for the moment.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I like your glasses. Those are cool.
Thank you.
So,
Costs a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm sure.
Probably more than my car, both of our cars combined.
I'm sure.
We don't fit that picture. Like, we don't have credit cards. We don't have car loans. We own our cars, and he fixes them because he's a mechanic. So that kind of hurts a lot of people, it's that sentence that you said.
Well, I mean, I don't really care about your feelings.
Yeah.
I don't. The reason that I don't is because I looked at your personal budget on the screen, and you got almost $8,000 in expenses.
Yeah, we live in a really hard area to live.
If self-righteousness was expensive, you'd be broke.
So all excuses. But I mean, that's cool. You don't want to have to close your shop.
I did have to close my shop, and I'm proud to have started my shop, and I plan to try again, and I'll keep trying until I make it. But for you to pretend like you know anybody, you know you. You should be talking about you.
That's cool. I'm gonna try to find your shop and buy it.
You know what? Someone's already in my shop, and I'm wishing them well because I believe in other people. That's what I do. I believe in other people. You believe in you. You believe in you. And that's all you'll ever have is you, brother.
You know, Doc, the thing about it is that he's emotional.
I am.
And no, I get that. I get that. But I don't make decisions based off of emotion. So he can be as emotional as he wants to, but he's still broke at the end of the day.
Yeah, but let me talk to you a minute, because I'm not emotional.
Okay.
And he's emotional because you have intentionally insulted everybody up here. Let's take a break, and then I'll have some things to say to Anton. And by the way, 6 months ago, I met a husband and wife that were drowning in debt and struggling to stay afloat. We're going to find out how they're doing now and why their update gives us some hope, because there's some truth in what he very inappropriately says. We'll be right back. I was talking about an update of a couple we had on not long ago in a show talking about affordability and changes to the economy. Let's take a look at that, and then I'll have some things to say. You work an extra job, and you still can't make it work.
My 6-year-old, I was picking her up from school, and she said, "Mommy, can we go to the store?" And I wanted to lighten the load by telling a little joke and say, well, you got the money for it? She was like, yes, Mommy, I have a quarter. Of course, I say the same old line, I'll take you to the store when I get the money.
We were getting vouchers for our kids, and they removed the voucher and told us we make too much money. And I said, how do we make too much money? Our daughter doesn't even have health care.
You're all those children have, and they're damn lucky to have you too. We're going to give you some help in cleaning some of this up.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Phil. We just want to say thank you for all that you did for us, all that you did for our family, with allowing us to share our American nightmare story with the world. We also want to thank Dr. Phil for Annette, our financial coach, for how she helped us.
We were able to downsize on our most expensive bills. We were paying $450 for one car. We were able to downsize that on insurance. We were able to budget together as a married couple. We were able to do more for our children. We were even able to implement more money toward groceries. And that was something that we definitely could not do before coming upon the show.
We have a savings account, and we still are on the path to home ownership because of Dr. Phil and his team.
Being on Dr. Phil and encountering his amazing staff, we definitely were able to get to a place that we are able to afford groceries, afford sports for our children, and be able to live comfortably. And we just thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Phil and his team.
Thank you so much.
We did work with them and provide them some help. We connected them with Annette Harris, a financial counselor who owns Harris Financial Coaching, and she did a great job with them. They're continuing to do well and gain some real traction, and couldn't be more proud of the work that they've done. You know, the things that you're saying, I've said for years, you don't solve money problems with money. You solve money problems with making changes and sacrifices in one area, prioritizing others. There's always a better way if people are willing to learn and work hard. There are things in life that are unavoidable. And I have a real diversified portfolio across my life. I wouldn't hire you to manage it because you're arrogant. I always try to deal with people in a way that they feel better about themselves after interacting with me than they did before they interacted with me. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't necessarily share that strategy, but there's some wisdom in what you say, and I don't begrudge you doing some of the things that you do. But the biggest problem I see with your attitude and approach is you do mass, broad generalizations without taking into account individual differences, circumstances, and situations. People fall on hard times. That doesn't make them self-inflicted. It doesn't make them stupid. When Robin and I got married, if it wasn't for 2-for-1 burger bucks, one of us would have starved. But we were planful and worked hard and created a different situation. You can watch a whole movie and get one impression, but if you ever freeze frame that movie and lift a clip out of it, you could go, wow, they're about as broke as you can get. I wouldn't invest much in their future. It depends on where you look, because I kid you not. What did you pay for your first car, $315?
It was about $275.
Oh, it was a '63 Comet that had been painted with a brush.
Yes, turquoise.
That's a crummy car. Yeah. But I've never had a car payment in my life or a house payment. You grow up poor, you pay for things in cash. I've driven some really crummy cars, so I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yes.
I mean,
you just don't know if you're going to make it home.
Well, yeah, you pull into a gas station, fill her up with 40 weight.
Yeah.
It's not gas, it's burning oil so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Just fill it up with oil, will you?
We don't even fill it up because there's a hole in the gas tank.
Yeah, but seriously, if you freeze frame your life where it is, you'd say, yeah, I'm not going to invest in these people. You know, Jay's living in her car, and I'm not going to invest in her future. But you got to be willing to watch the whole movie. When I was 14, living in a cardboard box in Kansas City, people probably said, yeah, not a real bright future for this guy. I had the worst attendance record in high school in the non-felon category. These things can turn around. It's not about being a victim. It's about looking for opportunities and making sacrifices until they get there. And you are. You're making those sacrifices. You are surviving right now until you get an opportunity, and it's this carpe diem. You seize that day when it gets there, and then you build on that, and you build on that, and you build on that. And what I said I hated about your internal dialogue is you said, I'm just working and surviving, and that's not much of a life. But that's freeze framing the movie right now. You're young and intelligent and articulate and all of these things that you can turn into something that could really light things up. I believed in myself when I was young, and my dad and I were living in an apartment with no utilities. But I thought, you know, this can't last forever. And I look back on it now, and it's like the blink of an eye, and I don't mind it now. It was a character builder. You know, you get through it and you move on. I don't like that internal dialogue. You can't be looking at yourself with no hope and that you're a burden. You know, the number one thing that predicts someone taking their own life is if they see themselves as a burden. You don't talk to yourself that way. You keep your head up and your eyes open, and, you know, something will change. And I would be more than happy to hook you guys up with the same financial advisor that I hooked this other couple up with. And I'm telling you, they will find ways to create more disposable income out of what you have than you would think. Have somebody come in and take that help. And you never know what's going to happen. My final thoughts after the break. For the benefit of y'all that are here on the stage that may not have seen it, will everybody hold their signs up one more time? Yeah. So I want you guys to see that you're not alone. Look, it costs a lot to be an American. We pay taxes, some more than others, to make sure that every kid can get a high school education. Police and firefighters help us in an emergency. And we have a strong military to protect our interests, and none of that's free. Whether people have high incomes or no income at all, we all share in these opportunities and should acknowledge as much. Economies are dynamic. They inhale and exhale. And we have long periods of economic growth and opportunities and periods of economic hardship. If someone is willing to work hard, they are on the right track and they should be applauded. Now, making more money should never be the goal and should never make anyone believe more money alone is going to make them financially stable. You don't solve money problems with money. It boils down to values and lifestyle. Here it is. We've got issues, and some of them are financial. What I can tell you is this. I have had good times in my life, and I've had not good times. And either way, I can attribute just about 100% to what I've done and what I have not done. It mattered not one bit who was president or what the interest rates were, whether we were experiencing good times or bad. Managing money is above all about managing expectations. I could always afford whatever I wanted because I couldn't afford it. I didn't want it. I just didn't let myself want stuff I couldn't afford. You will never be comfortable in your own skin if you define your life by what and what is not in it. The Rolling Stones said it in a song, you can't always get what you want. But if you don't have what you want, maybe it's time to want what you have. I have found the primary differences between winners and losers is winners do things losers don't want to do. Winners deal with reality. Winners behave their way to success. Winners do what it takes, and they do it until. I could say more, but it all comes back to the same message. Really simple. You're not a victim. If you want it, earn it. Burn less than you earn. Make decisions based on what you can afford, not what you even think you need. And if we will all get to that, we'll be in a lot better shape. And I'm not just talking about us citizens, I'm talking about our government. Our government needs to break the printing press, because every time they print more money, ours becomes worth less. We're $35 trillion in debt. They need to start spending what they have and not what they don't. And then all of our money will be worth a whole lot more. And I really hope that you'll change your internal dialogue and not measure your worth by what you currently have. You're in a movie. You're just getting started. Let this movie play out.
Okay.
You'd be surprised where you might be in a very short period of time. I want to thank all of my guests, and a special thanks to financial counselor Annette Harris for offering services to Morgan and Justin, as well as the couple before. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.